Hey, what's up, guys? Today I'm going to talk about my brother and his weird ass fascination with mythical creatures and aliens. My older brother has always been a bit of a weirdo in general. We always thought that there was something a little off with him, like some schizo type shit. It's probably because of how much my family would just fuck with him. I mean, seriously, that poor soul. And I think with his unstable mental and my family messing with him, it just made it worse. I also don't want him to seem super unusual, like staring into a street light and thinking, oh, aliens are coming. He's not that weird, but yeah, he's kind of weird. So when he was around the age of 13 or 14, an age I feel like I was fairly coherent at when it came to what's real and what's not, my family was on a road trip going through New Jersey. Now, if you know anything about New Jersey lore or any sort of lore that relates to mythical creatures in the United States, you might have heard about something called the Jersey Devil. It was basically this mythical creature that came from the British folks that were tripping balls in the middle of the fucking woods. I think it was like Quakers or something. I don't know if they're British, but that sounds possibly right. The creature looks like a griffin, but instead of a lion and a bird, it's like a bipedal moose bat, I think. Imagine those animals actually mating though. I can't even imagine a chihuahua and a husky mating. I don't think these people that came up with this folklore thought that part through though. A moose and a fucking bat. A moose fucking a bat. Or a bat fucking a moose. As I was saying, they were driving through Jersey late at night, and my parents were talking about the Jersey Devil and how he was probably in the woods somewhere. Or they, them, or she, her. Well, this 13 or 14-year-old started to cry at the aspect of the mythical creature existing, I suppose. I would assume this stuck with him, and maybe other stories might have stuck with him, like ghost stories. I think that just means he was impressionable when it came to these things, and so it kind of just was a part of his personality for a prolonged period of time. His fascination with mythical creatures grew and grew, and he would always talk about these different creatures that he thought existed. It wasn't even a it might exist sort of thing. It was more of a nah, I'm pretty sure they exist, and because I read it somewhere on the internet, that means they do. Now, the internet a decade and a half ago was a little bit weird, a lot different from what it is now. There were definitely sides, I suppose, of YouTube that were very odd. He happened to get hooked on essentially all of them. Man started to think that the Rake, Bigfoot, gray aliens, the Cookie Monster, who the fuck knows? Motherfucker believed they all existed. There's a few stories that he's talked about where I'm like, okay, I think you're a little fucking weird, but I'm still intrigued. And I suppose we all like a good story, right? We like to think about all of the things that could, not really about the things that are. On old YouTube, mans would binge stuff that talked about different alien races, which would include the Greys, reptilians. On the old YouTube, mans would binge watch some weird shit. He would be watching videos about different alien races, which would include the Greys, the reptilians, the tall whites, some very fascinating stuff. I say fascinating in the sense that it just seemed very obviously not true and like made up weird cuckoo shit. He would say that the tall whites are in control of the United States government. Okay, I can see that being a thing. Some flesh-eating aliens are a thing too, apparently. Like reptilians or some shit. Just very, very odd things. You know what? I genuinely was like, oh god, that's kind of scary. Mostly because I was like 7 years old when he was telling me this. And he was like 17 or 18 at the time he was telling me all this shit. Telling me about how aliens might abduct me and stick something in my asshole and possibly eat me alive. Oh, and might bathe in human blood. Yeah, luckily I was like, bro, that seems a little too crazy. And even at the age of 7, 8, whatever age I was like, bro, you're fucking nuts. Besides his obsession with aliens, he talked about the Rake. Now, I have two stories relating to the Rake and aliens. When he moved out and he was living with my dad, which then my parents were divorced at the time, he would talk about how he would hear scratching on the roof and it would terrify him. And I think around this time, the dude's like 19 years old. He would constantly be like, oh, it's the Rake, it's the Rake. I don't know why I sound like Hank Hill there, but I know he's scratching the roof. I'm like, bro, the Rake? First of all, okay, why would there be a Rake on the roof? No, the Rake, the long clawed thing that if you stare into its eyes, it will tear you apart. Like, bro, chill. Mans was too fucking old to be wild. He's actually basically said this anytime there's been scratching on the roof. And I was like, yo, for all we know, it could be two squirrels making love on the roof or a raccoon just chilling up there and stargazing. Yeah, nah, man was a little too cuckoo. His alien stories were fascinating too. There's too many to talk about now, honestly. Just because he's fucking odd. I enjoy listening to him talk about some crackpot shit to me. So for the aliens, one time he talked about when he was sleeping and woke up to what he says bright lights shining in the window, and he said he felt like the aliens were like reading his mind or something. Okay, so interestingly enough, I've had some weird shit like this happen to me too. But the key thing here is Mans was asleep. Sleep paralysis will make you think you're tripping absolute balls. But in reality, you're in a sleep state in paralysis and your body is just giving you a free trip without having to take any drugs. Homie went on to say he woke up the next day to his ass feeling a little weird. I was like, okay, bro. He was legit convincing himself aliens probed him. But what probably happened is he ripped ass in his sleep and he wasn't awake to experience it. The other alien story I remember him telling me was when, again, it's nighttime and he's in bed, he heard aliens talking outside of the window. I swear to you guys, his exact words were, "These fuckers were whispering to each other outside of my window and they were keeping me awake." Yeah. To this day, he's in his 30s and still talks about all this shit, saying that the rake is still after him and just some very weird things. And it's not like it seems that deep. He doesn't vehemently say it like, "Oh God, they're after me." Nothing like that, which would be cause for concern for sure, right? For my own personal beliefs, I don't believe any of that shit for the most part. The aliens thing, I'm not too sure about. I mean, there's definitely aliens out there, but I don't think they're the aliens that this dude is referring to. I feel like this one was a little bit shorter because it wasn't like one singular long story. But I definitely have more stories, like I said, to talk about in future videos. But I swear to you guys, there's numerous things I could talk about, like a library, a playlist of these weird ass stories that my brother has told me that I could for sure talk about in other videos. Anyways, thank you for listening to me speak.